What do you remember about those early days of us all playing ball together and meeting?
There was this one time I came to when I moved to Edmonton. I went to this gym I got invited to, and I met these two guys. They're asking me for change as I was walking in.
Danse Kakyao, Miyugi Payao, Michael Swampy, Nisigaso. Welcome to the War Scouts Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Michael Swampy. The War Scouts Basketball Podcast, the home of everything Indigenous basketball. We're going live today. We're doing a little bit of a little NBA opening day. And as you can tell, we don't have the Treaty 8, the tall Cree from the Sticks, legend named Cardinal. He's a little busy tonight, so he couldn't join us. But in his place, we have none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Gordon Naylor from Muscadet Cree Nation. Did I get that right, Gordo?
Oh, First Nation, but whatever.
How you doing?
I'm not the chief. I'm doing good. Just watched a really good first game. Super pumped to watch LeBron James really lean into the nepotism with his son playing in the NBA.
Is there anybody? If there's anybody who has more nepotism power than named Cardinal, it's LeBron James, I think, for sure. Before we get started, if you're tuning in to us, watching this live right now, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, and I think we're live on Instagram. So feel free to comment. Uh-oh. We already have one. Here we go. This is awkward. From Name Cardinal. This is awkward. I wasn't even invited. This guy. Yeah, but if you're tuning in, please like and subscribe on YouTube. We have a pretty good following. We have, over 100 subscribers, which, might be about 90% of my former students, but that's okay. And then like and subscribe. Follow us on any podcast that you listen to podcasts. So if you can, also give us a little review. 5 stars only, baby. It helps people find us when they are searching for basketball podcasts. So if you can, give us a 5-star rating.
Weren't you guys a one-time number 17 in Canada basketball podcast?
That's right.
Something. Yeah,
that's right. We're a very niche market. We're number 1 for Indigenous basketball. That's for sure. we're so niche right now. Crazy. No. So the plan today, if you are a big basketball fan, obviously you're tuning in to NBA opening day. Gord and myself both have the Minnesota LA Lakers game locked up, tuned in right now. The score 7-13 for the Lakers, which is a little surprising, but it's still only 4 minutes into the game. So if you're tuning in, you can watch along with us. We'll just keep you guys updated on the game. If something crazy happens, we'll try and shout it out. Like Anthony Edwards right now has the ball at the top, and he's about to catch this step back. Oh, did I call it?
You might want to click live. There's only 5 minutes left on my feed.
Oh, on the first quarter?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I am.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not.
My score is 16-10.
Okay, yeah. I'm caught up now. I went forward 10 seconds. Won't let me go any further. JJ Redick giving it to D'Angelo Russell there.
Oh, I saw a short guy checking in for the Lakers, and I almost thought it was Bronny.
You think Bronny is going to get in the game?
Oh, I sure hope not.
You think LeBron's going to be like, hey, JJ, and then subtly point back to his son?
I will give you this pallet full of wine as a present.
Hey JJ, you might want to check in my lineage here. I got some stakes here.
Do you want to go back to ESPN or do you want to coach my son?
Le GM. So back to my introduction before we got sidetracked a little. That's okay. Today we're also going to try and do our best to tier some of the teams in the NBA. Now there's obviously some big hitters like the Celtics, like those NBA contenders that we won't spend a whole lot of time on. I think the focus will be like on those little mid-level teams like the Orlando Magics or the Dallas Mavericks, like Gord was telling me earlier, or the Cleveland Cavaliers, those teams that are kind of on the bubble, and hopefully we can try and get them tiered a little bit better. Was that? Oh, that looked like, I swear I thought that was Bronny, but that was
Gabe Vincent.
Gabe Vincent, yeah.
That's the exact person I thought was Bronny.
Crazy. How great is this though to be back watching some NBA?
When I put on the Knicks and Celtics, besides watching the Celtics ring ceremony, it was like an awesome first game, and we were lucky enough to have the Olympics in the summer, but this is the best.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like the best of the best. As much as Noah Lyles likes to say that, champion of what? When he was dissing the NBA about saying they're world champions. Like, this is literally the best league in the world. You have the best international players. Like, I don't understand his argument. Maybe his argument would have been like, include like the club teams from Spain or Germany or whatever. But still, those club teams will get worked by these NBA players.
Montrezl Harrell's in the NBL down in Australia and dominating, and he was like an energy guy off the bench.
Montrezl Harrell,
6th man of the year, but he quickly faded to obscurity.
Yeah, I saw a highlight of him going tween between the legs, spin move, shoulder a guy down low, get an and one, and then just scream in the guy's face. Classic Montrezl Harrell.
No skill, just strength.
Just strength. Kind of like Kenneth Faried, the Manimal.
Oh, I still like watching that highlight clip of him grabbing like 7 offensive rebounds when he was on the Nuggets. That was amazing.
Quite literally the Manimal. Speaking of old timer players that were just beasts, I sent you a clip of Blake Griffin when he was with Detroit. Like, talk about a guy that changed his game completely when he realized that he couldn't jump as high as he used to. And by the way, those highlights when he could jump were freaking ridiculous. But when he was with Detroit and he was heaving threes, like he was such a good, solid player. He was an all-star that year, was he not?
He was, and I forget if it was 2nd or 3rd team All-NBA on like a Pistons team that is equivalent to like the Charlotte Hornets this year. Just bad, but he willed them into the playoffs.
The Charlotte Hornets. Oh man, there are some bad teams this year in the NBA. We're gonna get to that, but yeah, like talk about a guy who, for one, I couldn't remember if it was 1 or 2 seasons that he was really good, but like obviously injuries caused him to retire. But you see a lot of guys I wish could change their games like he did, like Russell Westbrook. Like I wish Westbrook was just able to, be a spot up shooter, but I don't think he has the mentality for it.
The one that really makes me sad is watching AI in Memphis and like on Detroit, just when that athleticism leaves and you just try and play the same with a different with an older body. I've seen that in Mike Swampy turning from a all-world defensive player into just a guy who loves threes.
Yeah, Purs. That's so funny. When I was in high school, I loved playing defense, and like defense was kind of my thing. And then when I got to university, 3rd year university, I was like, yeah, threes are pretty dope too. Defense is pretty tough.
I'm tired all the time.
No wonder I was a terrible shooter all throughout my career. working too hard defensively. That's what it was.
Yeah, I'll tell Drabiak that next time I see him.
Drabs. If you follow me on Instagram, Michael_Swampy on Instagram, I just posted a photo of myself, Gord, and Dave Drabiak. Dave's now the executive director for Alberta Basketball. Hopefully he'll come on the pod soon. Come on the pod, Dave. But he just donated some pairs of shoes to the schools in Musquecheese, like 50 pairs of shoes. But anyways, while we were there, he was telling a story about it was myself and another guy that was on the team, and we would always just be put on separate sides, and we would always go back and forth, and it would get so competitive at times. Dave just saying like, oh, he was kind of worried that, you know, fights would break out because it was just so competitive during those practices. I looked at David, I was like, but you literally had 6 guys competing for one spot. and me and the other guy were like, at that time, bottom feeders. So so we had to work our butts off.
Yeah, I was only at Augustana for your first year because I was graduating that year, and just watching how that group of first years grew over the next few years, like Dave Shantz growing as a player, becoming one of the better ACAC players of that era.
Oh yeah.
And just how you guys took a program that was in a little bit of a slump before you guys got there, and took it to like qualifying for playoffs, 2 straight years before you transferred?
Yeah. And the years before, my first year was a struggle. Like, we had some really, really good players, but I don't know if ACAC at that time was just really strong, but we didn't make playoffs that first year, and it was a grind. But I think what had happened was, like, the Dave Shantzes of that team and the kind of group that was there before me kind of developed this culture where, you know, you got to work your butt off to be able to, you know, see any sort of growth. And I really fed off of that. I really liked that. And then being able to make playoffs was like a huge accomplishment for Augustana, which is such a small team. And in our interview with Lauren Cardinal, because she was a player at Augustana, and they ended up making it to nationals, and just like hearing her conversation talking about how, like, you know, Augustana is just this tiny little university in Little Camrose, and our gym can fit like 100 people. It's such a tiny gym, not even. And then to be playing in nationals and having, like, you know, you're playing in basically what is a stadium or a U Sports facility like what the U of A has.
Competing against those Ontario colleges that, like, the recruitment base in Ontario is so much deeper than it is in Western Canada. And the fact that that Vikings women's team went and showed that they belonged on that stage was amazing.
Yeah, Tapway. And Tennyson, who we interviewed last week, she had an opportunity to go to TMU, which is like, it just goes to show what kind of level of talent she was at. Like, Name wasn't kidding when he was saying how good she was, giving her praises.
And last year was just her first year, correct?
I think so.
Yeah,
so.
And so, like, she has this year and 3 more years of eligibility after that. Like,
it's pretty solid.
When she jokes, like, when you asked about her pursuing pro, like, that's a very real venue for her to explore.
Yep.
Like, U Sports basketball produces pro players all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In terms of athleticism, I think U Sports is up there. Obviously, skill wise, the USA dominates that area, but, like, yeah, I think we're getting there. We're almost on that exact same level. We are for sure for volleyball. I think I know that for sure. Yeah. Is it me or never mind. I was just gonna say, is Anthony Edwards going off here? LA's only up 2 now.
I think it's the switch to the zone defense.
JJ's working up his. He's a really he's a stats guy, you know, looking at the field goal percentage and efficiency. This Dante DiVincenzo guy, hey, he's just out for blood.
Oh yeah, he is going to win Sixth Man of the Year without a doubt.
Good thing I drafted him. Did I draft him? I sure hope I did. Sorry. By drafting, I mean Naylor and myself are in a fantasy basketball league.
Oh,
And,
Dante DiVincenzo right there on my roster.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, look, Derek White. I also drafted him. He had 6 3-pointers tonight.
Well, you're not going to believe this, but I had Jalen Brunson on my team. Just to give the viewers a little behind the scenes, we needed 12 teams and we were at 11. So, we could have had 10, but Rixie signed him upself for 2. So then I signed myself up for 2 teams as well. But this one team I have, it's called the Pool of Dreams. Just take a wild guess at why it's called Pool of Dreams. Pool spelled Poole, by the way. That's right. I have none other than Jordan Poole on my team.
Oh, Draymond Green's fist.
Who's this Draymond Green's fist? Is that a team name?
I hope so. I hope someone names themselves that in the league. I think we should recruit Name to take over one of Crane's teams.
Yeah.
And then Name can actually he would be a little bit more active than
Yes.
So Name. If you're listening, do you want Luka Doncic or who's on the other team? Or Anthony Davis? Those are your 2 first-round picks. Tell us which one you want.
I mean, Luka is clearly a good pick. A Name, the team's already drafted. You don't got to participate in the draft. It's already there.
Just click set lineup every Sunday.
That's right. Okay, just looking at some of the teams. We have some of the auto named teams like Dakota's Dazzling team, Graham's Ingenious team. But then we also have Hot Curry and Splash Sauce. Now that's a good name. We have Emmanuel Speedwagons. By the way, that's my second team. I have Emmanuel quickly on my team. Therefore, we are the Speedwagons. We have Levine La Vida Loca, Musco Cheese Mojo, Nikita's Layup Legends, Raptors on Ice, Shade Ain't So, and then we have some shooters. Fantasy basketball. This is what the people want to hear right now. Just us talking about fantasy basketball.
Me lamenting that I drafted RJ Barrett and he's hurt.
Is he?
Yeah, he hurt himself in a preseason game against in Montreal against the Wizards, and he's been out since. And which
hey,
that's Cooper Flag right there.
We're gonna get into it because that's right, Cooper Flag. Raptors need to lose every single game in order to be poop for Coop.
Did you watch the highlights of his whatever Duke calls their inter-squad game?
I watched them play. They played against a kind of like a lower level Div 1 team just recently and dominated by like 50 points.
And he looks like he's the real deal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, you kind of saw it when he was training with Team USA. when he was literally going at LeBron James. Yeah, they played some team called Lincoln. I'm assuming that's Pennsylvania, and obliterated them by. Yeah, this score says 107-56. Those
That's
are
a lot of points to score in a college in an NCAA game.
Oh yeah, me and Name always joke that when the War Scouts were in Div 1 men's league, every time we see a high scoring game like that on a lower level team, I always say War Scouts scores right there, because we would ultimately be the team that got whooped. We always make the joke, like the WNBA finals that just recently happened. I always text Name, what do you think the War Scouts are putting up against the Minnesota Lynx right now? Probably still in single digits going into halftime.
Yeah, Collier would have just ate Name up for lunch.
Man, watching WNBA, it's crazy how good those ladies are. Brianna Stewart, I swear to God, probably got the ball every single possession, 95% of the time, every single time down the floor.
And just like they're in the NBA, it's all the drive and kick. So like there's never that second action. If it gets denied, it's always like dribble through the key and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
And the WNBA, it's like, oh, I got beat. Reverse the ball
Yeah.
to the other side.
Work the ball around, and hopefully we can find somebody open. Yeah, I always find, even just like at the lower levels, just thinking about like university basketball here in Canada, or even like volleyball. In volleyball, for the men's volleyball, it's like bump, set, smash, and then the sets happen so quick. Whereas women's, it's like bump, set, position play, or there's so much more thinking involved within. And I don't think that's a real like physicality issue. Like I think it's more so that there's just so much more thinking going on during the game. And you could definitely see that in WNBA versus NBA for sure.
Yeah, there wasn't a 40-point blowout in the finals like there was in the NBA.
Yeah, God.
The Celtics dominated the Mavericks.
Yeah, I felt bad for the Mavs. It was not, and it was one of the lowest scoring, or not scoring, lowest viewed finals in the longest time, which is unfortunate because Kyrie was cooking.
The thing about the WNBA is they need to schedule it away from Sunday Night Football.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because I was talking to one of my friends, and they were shocked that they carried games 1 through 4 on TSN, but not Game 5, because Sunday Night Football is a TSN property, and so luckily it was on Sportsnet. But
yes, yeah,
I was lost for a second looking for it.
Yeah, it would have been so brutal to not be able to see Game 5 of the. They're switching to a Game 7 for the WNBA for next year.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which will be good. Julius Randle here. If somebody needs to be out for blood, it's Julius Randle. I hope he has a good season this year, especially being injured all last year.
Yeah, he could, or he should fill the hole that Kat's left in, like some of the spot up shooting. Just got to let Anthony Edwards cook a little bit, because
and that was the biggest worry, is like, is he going to clog up the paint a little bit? But I mean, Anthony Edwards still played really well when having 3 legit centers in Naz Reid and Kat, and then you have Rudy Gobert.
Did you see that Minnesota locked him up for 3 more years.
Who, Rudy or
Yeah.
Naz? Really?
Rudy, 3 years, 110 million.
Wow.
It was announced just before the game.
Wow. Okay. For 3 years. Alfred Sangoon got paid more money than Rudy, which makes sense because he's younger, but interesting. I always thought, and this is obviously different, but he was voted the least liked player in the NBA, Rudy Gobert. And so, I mean, I guess if he's working in Minnesota, he should stick with what works, but
Yeah, play defense in the quarters 1 through 3 and don't get off the bench in quarter 4.
and then just divert to Anthony Edwards every time and you'll be fine.
And the Wolves are really fortunate that they developed Naz Reid to be a good center that can guard outside of the paint if needed on a possession or two.
And good for him to sticking with it. Can you imagine being like an up-and-coming center and then randomly bringing in Rudy Gobert, another 7'4" guy? It's like, do you not have faith in me? But he stuck it out.
And he got paid.
Yep.
Oh,
Did LeBron get that call?
yeah, he definitely did.
Of course I mean, Julius does always put his shoulder down.
Yeah, it's that extension of the arm.
Yeah.
If he just continued stepping.
Oh my God. Going back to the WNBA, so there was a late foul call in the WNBA game that sent Breanna Stewart to the line to tie the game, and she ended up tying the game, and New York ended up winning the game. But that foul call was a heated conversation. Most people thought that it wasn't a foul call. When I was watching it, I thought it was, they called it an illegal guarding position on the defender. So meaning they were still moving when the contact happened, which I kind of agree with. When I was watching it, I was like, that's going to be a foul, but refs can make that argument for almost every single contact in the NBA. And in that scenario, they probably should have swallowed their whistle. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Especially, I read that the free throw discrepancy was 25-8.
Yeah.
And Collier was getting destroyed on the one end. And
Yep. And the Minnesota coach, I don't know if she got fined or anything, but she said, like, that game was taken from us, from the refs. I know the headlines are going to be that the head coach is blaming the refs for losing, but that's exactly what happened. And she had every right, because the foul calls were clearly not in their favor. Being in New York, one of the largest markets for the WNBA, you hate to say that the WNBA is also rigged, but no, I'm not going to say that.
It's also tough when you have a player like Jonquel Jones, the big center for the Liberty.
She was
Finals
MVP.
She was phenomenal. Just how they were able to roll that switch defense on every pick and roll, that she wasn't ever stuck guarding the ball handler. Like that was some really high level scheming on New York's part to make sure she wasn't put on an island.
Yep.
And on the other side, the Lynx did a great job never allowing their 5'6" guard who would switch the initial ball screen. But she never guarded Jones in the post. That was such great coaching on both sides of the ball from both teams.
Yeah, and again, I'm telling you, there's so much more tactics and those types of strategy plays that are found within the WNBA versus the NBA, where it's like, okay, this set didn't work. Okay, Anthony Edwards, take this guy one-on-one. Yeah. But sorry, going way back to my original point about LeBron James taking that offensive foul from Julius Randle. LeBron tweeted about the foul call in the WNBA game. And he said, "Ref should let the players determine the outcome of the game." Bron, I I hate to be the one to tell you, but you are not in any position to say that. A man who dominates the refs in any basketball game and yells at them constantly.
Do you remember the Celtics Lakers game where LeBron was actually fouled on the game winning, or it was an attempted game winning layup, and LeBron just got smacked on the arm instead, but they called it a block.
Yeah.
And Pat Bev is like with the camera to the ref.
Pat Bev grabs the camera from some random guy in the sidelines and is pointing at the camera, telling the ref like, "That's a foul." Was that the same one where LeBron was like, he fell to his knees when he found out the outcome? Bron, my guy, come on, man. You're doing more acting on the court than you are in Space Jam.
I have yet to watch that second one, but
I haven't seen it either. I imagine he did a tremendous job, and it's an Oscar-worthy performance.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's his post-basketball career.
Okay. Should we get to ranking a little bit of these teams here?
Sure.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try our best to rank the top teams in the NBA, and we'll basically rank them from S tier all the way. And S tier is kind of like our teams that we think are going to win the NBA championships. Let me just share this screen here for you. And so the S tier, we have NBA people who can win the NBA championships. We have the A tier, which is sort of like the 2 till the 3 seeds, kind of like the top tier teams, kind of those teams that could supplant the number 1 seed, but are not necessarily NBA champions in our opinion. And then we have B and C. B and C are kind of playoff for sure. So that's the 5-6, and then C is the 7-8, and then D is the playing game, and then F is
Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag, exactly. Okay, let's get. What did I do with my screen here? Let's start with none other than the Atlanta Hawks. Where do you think the Atlanta Hawks fit? We're gonna go alphabetical here.
The Eastern Conference is really bad. Like, most of those teams are gonna occupy the F tier, but I think Atlanta is right on that play-in tier level. So tier D that's where I would place them.
Yeah, they're not exactly a. They're not trying to be poop for Coop. They're not trying to tank. We haven't heard rebuilding at all with the Atlanta Hawks, but they're in that unfortunate case where they probably won't make the playoffs. They don't have DeJounte Murray. They do have, obviously, Trae Young, but I don't think that's enough for them to even, make that. I don't even know if they'll make the play-in game. That's what's unfortunate.
They don't really have a second guy who can score consistently. That's their biggest struggle. Trae Young can put up 30 and 11 all he wants, but
they have Ricochet. Ricochet might be the guy. Zachary Ricochet, which is their was he their number 2 pick?
Number 1.
No, oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that's how good this draft was.
I can't even remember. Was he a lottery?
They do have Jalen Johnson, but I know he stepped up last year, but he was also hurt for 25 games. So we're looking at him on on the top end being 17 points a game. And then I think it's a drastic fall off after him.
Yeah. To be honest, I felt a little bit like a casual when I was doing my fantasy draft. When I saw Jalen Johnson, and he was up there with some of the top players, and I was like, who the hell is Jalen Johnson?
He had a really awesome dunk last year. That's
the extent of the Canadian basketball knowledge.
yeah, I forget who it was, but I think it was on the Lakers. He actually dunked on someone.
Oh yeah. Okay. Next up, we have the Boston Celtics. This is pretty easy. We don't have to sugarcoat it. They literally just obliterated the New York Knicks tonight. I think they're an S tier team. They just won. Yeah, they just won the NBA championship. They obviously still have all their players returning. They have Al Horford and a guy who literally looks like Al Horford's son on their team. Like they'll be good for sure.
Are you talking about Xavier Tillman?
Yeah. I was watching the game and I literally looked and turned to my wife and said, "Is that Al Horford's son?"
They have the same build and the same height.
yeah. Two Al's on the floor. And then obviously you have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who have somehow, they won the NBA championship, but somehow they still have a vendetta out for the NBA because of the Olympics.
Yeah, like everyone was begging, "Oh, can we get a 3-and-D guy on the U.S. men's Olympic team?" It's like, well, Jaylen Brown is literally the best version of a 3-and-D player. He doesn't need to dribble. He'll guard the best guy on the other team.
Yeah, just, make him play his right hand. Don't ever let him use his left. That's okay. And he just won the NBA championship.
And finals MVP.
Oh, yeah. That little thing too. Did you hear what? So he just did an interview with Stephen A. Smith, and he was discussing about something about not changing his loyalties to Nike in order to create a favoritism to make the next Olympic team. So he basically just implied that all these brands have influence on who makes the team.
And he is such a smart dude. He teaches MIT courses in the off season.
Yeah.
And he was the youngest president of the NBA PA ever. Yeah. When he says something, it tends to be because he has a lot of knowledge and foresight.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know we just said we weren't going to spend a lot of time on Boston Celtics, but we just spent the same amount of time on them as the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
Brooklyn Nets.
It's the Ben Simmons comeback year, straight to the F tier.
Yeah. It's so funny when you see where are you in the NBA offseason timeline. You have James Harden slimming down pitcher. You have, and then the Ben Simmons highlights of his workouts. Yeah, I would look at the Brooklyn Nets roster, and to say they're a hot piece of garbage is probably a little bit accurate. It's not an understatement. They'll have Cam Thomas, who's obviously going to heave away. I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, and one of the most shocking stats they brought up was that,
oh my God, you see what's happening? They're coming in at the same time.
You're lying.
No, they're coming in at the same time.
Oh God. Yeah, this is drama right here. With 3 minutes left to go in the second, eh? Wow. LeBron and his son.
Does he stick around for the entire rest of the half to then not see the floor the rest of the game?
Oh, that would be heartbreaking.
Randall just big boyed him.
Yeah. Just saw that.
Oh,
Okay. Let me get this as a side screen here. Let me create this tier. So as I was saying, Brooklyn, hot piece of garbage.
and you were listening to the Bill Simmons podcast.
Yeah. So one of the stats that they were talking about was the top 4 shot takers in the NBA. They had Steph Curry, LeBron, Anthony Edwards, and somebody else who was one of the top, Luka Doncic, something like that. And then, sorry, one of those names is not on there. Maybe it was LeBron, because they're replaced by none other than Cam Thomas. Like, he is getting high efficiency.
Yeah. Like, even referring to fantasy basketball, like, sure, he's going to score a lot of points, but he's going to kill your field goal percentage.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's going to shoot 32%, and then the Nets won't care.
Pros and cons, baby. Yeah, Nets won't care. They want Cooper Flag in there, or Ace, whatever the guy's name is.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say Ace Bailey, but I don't think it's Ace Bailey.
That's the
Sorry.
name I had in my head.
Yeah. The Charlotte Hornets, interesting team.
I want to say because the East is so bad, I think they might end up on the pile of the 10th seed.
So you're a fan of LaMelo Ball, late game situation, 1-on-1 scenarios.
I like Brandon Miller.
Yes.
I think he can, when someone calls Paul George their GOAT, you got to take them serious. But I do like pieces of their team, but LaMelo needs to play basketball like he knows what he's doing, rather than playing like it's a AAU game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they have some pretty solid like role players: Miles Bridges, Josh Green, Cody Martin. Like they'll be pretty solid. Yeah, I think they will potentially get that playing game for sure. LaMelo Ball, All-Star, you think?
Last time he was healthy, he was.
Yeah, he was actually quite a legit basketball player. Chicago Bulls.
This is so funny that alphabetically they're all Eastern Conference teams. That has to be an F tier.
Yeah, I think so too. They're gonna blow it up for sure. I think they will probably trade. They've already traded DeMar. DeMar is no longer there. They still have. Do they still have Zach LaVine? I think they do, right?
Yeah, it's because his contract's way too big.
Yeah, to be able to move him. They have Vucevic, baby, Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah, that guy's gonna go be a backup center for a playoff team.
Yeah, you would assume so. Yeah, I don't see Josh Giddey, or I don't even know who Matas Bazulis is.
He was on the G League Ignite team last year. He was their lottery pick, but he would have been in the mid-20s any other year, but he was like an 11th or 12th pick this year.
Yeah, and I don't see them. They would probably rather do a rebuild than try to barely make the playing game here.
I did hear on No Dunks that I think it was No Dunks about how
LeBron
the owner of the Bulls owns the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, okay.
And the White Sox just had the worst performance in baseball history. So they might do their best not to be the worst because the owner does not believe that they should tank, even though they should.
Yes.
Their assistant GM said that they would be hosting a playoff series.
Hosting, so that means they're a top four seed. Hey, if I was gonna say if they finish as the top 4 seed, I don't know, we'll make name eat a shoe or something. Okay, Cleveland
I would love to
Cavaliers.
see name eat a shoe if the Bulls are the 4 seed.
You heard it here first. we're making bets and putting name on the line here. Okay, Cleveland Cavaliers. Now this is one of the teams that we were discussing previously that could be an A and B, could be a top 4 seed for sure.
I think B, because I just think that they might win their division, but that Atlantic division is so good.
Yeah. I just got to take a look at the Atlantic just to get my bearings right. So that's Boston, that's Philly,
And New
unbeatable
York.
Toronto Raptors, and New York. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could see that. That would be tough. But thankfully they don't rank it like how they used to, where if you finish a certain spot in your division, you get placed in the playoffs as like I remember one year the Raptors got screwed and got placed as a 3rd seed and had to play a tough Brooklyn team or something like that.
Was that when Masai stood on the
And said fuck Brooklyn? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. It might have been that, or it might have been when I think that's when it was actually. Either way, it added to my dislike for Paul Pierce. Yeah, I could see that happening for them to be as the Cavs being a B, a 5-6.
Yeah, it's just the East is deep. And if Milwaukee's healthy, they could be better.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to finagle it because I think Cleveland will be one of the top 4. We'll discuss it.
Yep.
Okay, Dallas.
I want to say they are right between A and S.
Yeah.
Because Luka's really good.
And
but-
Kyrie's still obviously in great playing shape.
But I just don't have them winning the West. So
You don't think Klay Thompson's going to push him over the ledge?
The internet has told me he went 0 for 10 in an elimination game, so I must believe the internet.
Not only that, but he was like 3 for 20 in the preseason games. So it's not looking good for Klay, unfortunately. But who knows? I would say if there's anybody that will heat up mid-season, it's James Harden, it's Luka Doncic, and it's Klay Thompson. I just don't think those guys come into the season in playing shape. Like there's a lot of those types of guys. And that might obviously still put Dallas as a
3 seed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, 3 seed. Okay, the Nuggies. Where are we putting the Nuggies? The Denver Nuggets, home of Nikola Jokic. Poor performance for Team Canada. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., who's going to heave a lot of shots. And Christian Braun, who been a fabulous role player for Denver in the playoffs.
Potential 6th man of the year, Russell Westbrook.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think I'm leaning more towards an A for them. I don't necessarily see them coming out of the West as champions.
It wouldn't shock me, but they are not my first pick.
It's so hard though. They have Jokic. Jokic is the best player in the NBA.
3 of the past 4 MVPs.
You know what? Let's put. I want to put Denver in the S tier.
Okay. I'm okay with that. It's same thing. Like the 2 teams on the A and S tier edge for me were Dallas and Denver, and I like Denver in the S tier.
Mm-hmm. And Jokic is just so good. And I think Jamal Murray's performance at the Olympics was a bit of an anomaly. Like it just shocked me how poor he played at the Olympics. And I don't think he'll be, I hope he's not going into the NBA season in that type of shape, but we'll see.
And playoff Murray's real.
Yep.
Like he turns it up when it needs to be turned up.
We just talked about James Harden, Luka, Clay, Jamal Murray could be added to that list of guys who just, don't use the offseason as literally their offseason and then get in shape during the season. All right, this one's a pretty easy one. We have the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Cade Cunningham. It's just like a top pick who played exceptional in the offseason for USA Basketball. Didn't get chosen for USA Basketball. He also had a great season last year. He was a little bit banged up. And then they're going into another year of probably tanking. It's so unfortunate.
He might be the best guard on a non-playoff team in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not his fault the Pistons are so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just looking right now, and shockingly, they are not one of the last teams on the power rankings. A lot of people have them as 27th. Well, Bleacher Report has them as the 27th. Oh, they added Tobias Harris. That's why. I see. They're really banking on the 0 for 11 in the playoffs if you ever get there.
I do think the new coach will help, but that's going to take them from like winning in the teens to winning in the low 20s.
Yep. And that's just such a weird thing that NBA teams do. Like, sure, something's not working out right away, but as a player, it'd be kind of difficult to constantly have changeover all the time, and you never really get in the groove. That being said, some coaches are not very malleable in developing an offense that suits the team, and so that's maybe why they went in that other direction. Okay, so the next up we have the Golden State Warriors.
I think this is our first C tier.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, they'll be on the cusp of playing, but I think they have enough strength to be able to make the playoffs for sure.
Steph, like, they might be the 7th seed, which puts them in that awkward spot of playing that silly play-in game. But Steph is the best non-LeBron player of this generation.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, KD, I had to say that. You can tweet at me. But I think him alone is going to be able to push the Warriors into that like 7-8 range in the West.
Yeah, and I think they added Buddy Hield this offseason, who's a guy who obviously comes prepared, unlike Klay Thompson, and will probably shoot a better percentage than Klay. And in his recent highlights, he's been fitting in quite well in that Klay role for the Warriors. Yeah, and then they still have young players like Jonathan Kuminga who are going to be playing with vets like your Draymond's fist. Yeah.
And
Okay.
and Andrew Wiggins, they kept him from the Olympic team, so hopefully they have plans for him.
Yeah. Hopefully. We'll see. Now, how much was it actually the Golden State Warriors holding Andrew Wiggins back, or was it Andrew Wiggins not wanting to play for Team Canada?
I think a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B.
Yeah, I think so too. It was almost like Andrew Wiggins said, "Yeah, I'll sign up," and then at the off chance that the Golden State Warriors said, like, "Well, you could maybe spend an off season here, then have to do all that traveling," and then Wiggins like, "Yep, I'd rather do that." Okay, the Houston Rockets.
Oh, I want to say they're in the C or D tier. What do you think?
I was thinking the exact same thing. I think they might be for sure a play-in, the D tier. They added, who did they add? The big center, Steven Adams, our boy from New Zealand, who obviously will provide some of that veteran leadership for those young guys. But they've also added Alfred Sangoon, who just got the deal, and then Jalen Green also signed a big deal to stay with the Rockets. And then you still have guys like Fred VanVleet. So I think, they'll be a solid team.
And they drafted the best sharpshooter in the draft this past year in Reed Shepherd. I think
yeah. Yep.
I think their biggest thing is all their youth will be 1 year more experienced, despite all the jokes that people make of Dylan Brooks.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is a good leader, even if he does convince teams to dance weird dances. And Fred VanVleet, he's a pro's pro. He's exactly what Houston wants Jalen Green to turn into.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then maybe beyond playing, you think C tier?
The West is tough. I think
Okay.
play in. Yeah.
Okay, Indiana Pacers.
I think they join Cleveland in that B tier.
I agree. Yeah, it'll be Cleveland, Indiana. They'll be mixing up in the Eastern Conference for sure.
Spicy P.
Spicy P. The addition of Spicy P is huge for Indiana. And then obviously you have their point guard who is slipping my mind. I can visualize
Tyrese
Halliburton. Yeah. Who just came off a great Olympics as well. He'll be ready to go.
I heard on a podcast that last year Pascal just filled in what he thought he should do on offense because they didn't have time to properly integrate him.
Whoa.
And so having a training camp to get him ready and to game plan for him to get his shots, I think is going to be huge for Indiana.
That's actually pretty cool. Good on Pascal. That's huge. Yeah, so Indiana is a B tier, so they're looking at the 5 till the 5-6 range for the Eastern Conference, probably for sure. Or sorry, yeah, around there, 5-6. The LA Clippers and their brand new spanking stadium with injured Kawhi Leonard, a probably not in shape James Harden, and a Norm Powell who said, with Paul George leaving, I can take up at least 20 more shots a game.
Because the West is loaded, because I believe in the Warriors and Rockets, I have to say F tier.
Whoa.
I think they're going to not get close to the play-in, but be far enough ahead of the actual bottom feeders.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Houston will edge them out. Harden is not going to play 60 games. There's no way he's gonna. His body's already taken a toll. Kawhi is out. They might just blow it up, which is kind of crappy. But at the same time, you just got a brand new stadium. Even if your team's crappy, at least the fans will be able to enjoy, the sphere board that they have in there. That's like 360 massive screen.
That arena looks amazing.
Yeah.
At some point in my basketball fandom, I will make my way down there.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be they are clearly LA's second team again.
And you know what's crappy? I was just talking with my father-in-law about this. Is they drafted Shea, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they gave him up for Paul George, sent him to OKC. Heartbreaker. Okay, the LA Lakers.
I think they are the Western Conference's second play-in team. So D tier.
With Houston. Yep. I can definitely see that. Yeah, D tier. Playing. I like it. That's a good choice because obviously Anthony Davis is quite the injury bug. LeBron, as much as he wants to play with his son, he's only going to play, however many games. Yeah, he's getting older, and I don't see Rui Hachimura leading this team to victory anytime soon, or officially a playoff team.
And the West is really good at the top.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Memphis.
Oh, this is tough.
Ja could very well take them to however far he wants to take them.
I'm kind of leaning either C or D for me.
Okay. Yep.
Like,
is Jalen? Is he? Jaren
Jackson Jr.
Is Jaren Jackson Jr. healthy?
I believe so. Oh, never mind. 5 hours ago, there's an injury update.
Yeah. I knew I drafted him in my fantasy, and I saw that he was a little banged up.
Okay, looks more promising for Saturday's home opener.
Okay.
And they have a big Canadian at the 5 spot.
Yeah, Zach Edey, our boy.
Mr. Low Post Moves himself.
Yeah, I think they will. We have them in the C tier. Yeah, I think they'll for sure make the playoffs. It just depends on how far Ja can take them. Hopefully, Ja stays out of trouble. And fortunately for them, Zach Edey seems to be a very reliable big man that Jaren Jackson Jr. can kind of, be okay to sub out and have somebody as a backup. And then they have returning players like Desmond Bane, who's a really good shooter. I think they will be really good. I bet you their record won't show much like all the other Western Conference teams won't show it. So you could probably take the under on their win-loss record just because the West is so stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Miami Heat. The Heatles.
I don't believe that Heat culture will push them above the Bucks or the Cavs. So I want to say they're a C tier team.
Yeah, I like that too. Like they'll for sure make the playoffs. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bam played amazing at the Olympics. And hopefully Jimmy Butler, he's been called out by Pat Riley for not playing. So we might get an angry Jimmy Butler season.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat Riley. Appreciate it. Yeah, and then they have two really solid players, and Tyler Hero and Jaime Jaquez Jr., the Mexican stallion. yeah, they'll finish one of the top. They'll for sure make playoffs. I don't know if they'll finish the top, but yeah. Okay, the Milwaukee Bucks.
I gotta put them in A tier.
I like it. Yep. I agree.
Giannis, like that injury, thankfully was just a calf sprain because it looks like it could have been an Achilles.
Yes.
So luckily he avoided that. But like, I know the team is old. I know they struggle with perimeter defense, but Giannis is just he's the second or third best player in the world.
Yeah.
And until that team falls apart, I got to believe in them.
Yeah, and a lot of their success is going to come off beyond the 3-point arc. Like if you look at their top 3 shooters, you have Dame Lillard, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez. Obviously, they're all much older now and maybe past their primes, but they're still going to, I don't know, like I was saying, once you get older, you kind of rely on that 3-pointer and it kind of becomes sort of your bread and butter, and you kind of hope that happens for the Milwaukee Bucks. So basically what I'm saying is Milwaukee Bucks, sign me when you need a 3-point shooter. Minnesota Timberwolves.
I got to
Anthony
put them
Edwards.
I got to put them in S tier.
Yeah.
Like there's a clear top 3 in the West, and the Timberwolves, they could very well have taken the Mavericks spot last year.
Yep. Here's what I like about them. One, they had an amazing playoff run, and yeah, could have taken the Mavericks spot, and they just got unlucky a little bit in the playoffs. And 2, they have one player that is pretty friggin' exceptional in Anthony Edwards. Right now, they're getting spanked. Well, not getting spanked. They're losing by 13 points to the LA Lakers, but they'll figure it out. They'll work their kinks out. What's going to hinder them is ultimately that Cat trade. Getting rid of Cat, you kind of question why they did it, but you hope that it works out in their favor and hopes that Julius Randle doesn't mess up the offense too much. But I think they are S tier. I think it's championships or bust for them is my philosophy.
I love me some Mike Conley.
That's right. I've watched Mike Conley when he was in his prime live when he was playing with Memphis, and he quite literally felt like he could do anything with the basketball when he was playing. He was playing. We watched him in Houston, and James Harden was playing, and James Harden was 1 for 9, but he still had 18 points. Figure that one out. Yeah. Thank you, refs. The New Orleans Pelicans, the Pelicanos.
Does this default put them in B tier just because some Western teams need to be in B tier?
Yeah, because we have the Mavericks in A. Let's just slide these over here. Yeah, if we're saying the Mavs will finish ahead of New Orleans, the question is Brandon Ingram still going to be a Pelican come playoffs? Because there's been a lot of talk apparently about the Pelicans wanting to trade him.
They need a center in the worst way, and he's the most logical guy to trade. They have Herb Jones. They just re-signed Trey Murphy III. They just they need a guy above 6'9" that isn't Brandon Ingram.
Yeah. It's kind of tough to put him as the B tier, but yeah, I think that's a right spot for them. Hopefully Zion has a good season. Jose Alvarado obviously had a good time at the Olympics. Yeah, I think just looking at the teams ahead of them, they will not be better than the Mavericks, Minnesota, or Denver. Mark our words here, and then
Take that
spew
to
them-
the bank.
Yeah, and then spew the negative comments to us when we're wrong. Just kidding. Don't do that. Okay, the New York Knicks. The New York
Now-
Knicks.
I know they got blown out. And I know Mikhail Bridges' shot looks broken.
Yeah. God, it looks hideous.
But I love Tibbs, and I love the fact that they have, once Mitchell Robinson is back, they
Mhm.
have 6 legit guys, just like the Boston Celtics. They have a team that could be matched up against the Celtics very easily.
You thinking what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, S tier, baby. They'll finish. They'll finish probably below the Celtics or challenge for that number 1 seed. A lot of people actually picked the Knicks to lose in the finals to OKC or whoever. So I think they're S tier for sure.
And it's going to take a while for them to get used to each other because last year's offense was one guy.
Mm-hmm.
But once Jalen Brunson trusts all his teammates and knows where they like the ball, that team's going to be good.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson. What I found shocking when I was watching their game was the Celtics were just so well structured. Everyone knew their part. They were hitting friggin' every single shot. And you kind of feel bad for New York because they have such solid defenders. They have Mikal Bridges, who's a really great defender, Josh Hart, who works his butt off. And then you have guys like Jalen Brunson, who also works his butt off, Karl Anthony Towns. There was another guy that was on the floor that I was thinking about who was also amazing.
OG.
OG, yes. OG Anunoby. Yep. So guys who obviously can play at a high level and defend all their best players. So I think they have definitely the talent and the gusto. I just hope Tom Thibodeau freaking doesn't get them all injured by come February. Okay. The OKC Thunder. They no longer have Lindy Waters the third, so
The second best native basketball player in the world.
yeah, that's right. Okay, so here's the discussion. Do we supplant, is that the right word? Do we replace Denver with OKC?
I think the Thunder are going to win the championship.
Okay. I agree. I was just thinking about Jokic, the experience. Jamal Murray is still iffy. I'm gonna replace Denver. We're putting OKC S tier. I like it. Shea Gilchrist. He's gonna be a contender for the MVP for the year.
I think the players in like the preseason poll said that they think Shea has the best chances of being MVP, or maybe it was the coaches. Some polls said that Shea has like 35% of the vote
I agree.
amongst the coaches.
He single-handedly carried the Canadian national team, put the team on his back. Like, yeah, he will be a lethal weapon for sure.
Bringing back the mid-range.
That's right. The Orlando Magic, Paulo Banquero's team.
I think they have to be in the C tier just because I think their offense still might be as good as a high school offense in terms of structure.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're better than the Pacers or Cavs. I think they're C.
I like it. Yeah, they were one of the last seeds in playoffs last year, and they had a okay outing in playoffs, but again, they relied heavily on Paulo. And teams are just going to cue in on that. You take away Paulo, you take away a lot of what they have to offer. Who's going to dominate? Who's the next dominator on their team? Jalen Suggs.
Franz Wagner, who
Franz Wagner. Yes.
who can't hit a three to save his life.
Yeah. C tier. So they'll probably likely be another bottom seed for the playoffs, is what we're saying. But they will be better than Hornets in Atlanta. The Philadelphia 76ers. I think they're almost a lock for playoffs, you would hope.
Yeah. Even though two of their best three players are out for their first game and maybe for the first couple of weeks,
Mhm.
I think they're A tier.
You think they're A tier? So we have Bucks, Philly. Yeah, New York's better than them. Bucks will be better than them. Boston will be better than them. But Embiid is just really good. It just depends if he's going to be playing however many games he's going to be playing. That'll be the ultimate question. Same with Paul George. Like, he hyperextended his knee in preseason and it looked pretty gnarly. Like, you hate to see that kind of stuff. But he's also a gamer. I like Paul George, but yeah. The Phoenix Suns. Look at this. We're almost even. Like, it feels like they should just go right there and be.
I think they're a B tier because they're sort of on that A B slot just because they have two amazing talent, but I'm not sold on Tyrese Thomas being the solution that they need at the point guard. He's good.
He is a good player. Absolutely. But yeah, that's tough. Now, with that said, they obviously have Kevin Durant, who's unfreaking real. And I think Devin Booker is going to have a good season just because he's coming off an Olympics where he shot the lights out and did really well. And then Bradley Beal is hopefully coming for a little bit of he's kind of out for blood a little bit. Took a lot of criticism last season just because of his playing, but he still shot relatively well. He had high efficiency. So I like Phoenix. I think they'll do well. Are they better than Dallas? Are they better than Denver, Minnesota, or OKC?
And all those 5 teams could have 50 wins.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, yeah, you're the 5th best team in the West, but you're better than the 3 seed in the East.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Portland Trail Blazers. They have DeAndre Ayton at center. They have
Robert Williams at center. Donovan Clingan at center.
Scoot, who had a terrible first year as a rookie. Hopefully he has a better year.
Shaden Sharp, if he's healthy, which he currently isn't, I think he has the potential to turn into like a 20 points per game scorer. Canadian guy.
Here's the thing. They're not talented enough to make the playoffs. They would all have to be playing in their prime, essentially. Scoot would have to have a lights out season. Same with DeAndre Ayton. I just don't see that happening. Like, they're a young team. I don't foresee them making the playoffs. Well, they're not better than the Rockets. They're not better than the Lakers.
And yeah, like, even if they take a step forward, they're still going to be one of the worst teams in the league.
Yep. Okay, this is where things get a little difficult here. We have 3 Western Conference teams that are relatively good teams. First one we have is Sacramento Kings, who just added DeMar DeRozan to a Domantas Sabonis run offense.
And they were in the play-in games last year, and I think they were the 8th seed, and unfortunately lost to
Golden State.
Yeah. I just think Houston and the Lakers are better.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I think, like, I know a lot of people are critical of the Warriors and the Grizzlies, but I like them. So does that mean the Kings are F?
No, I think we could put them in the D. Again, they're on that cusp of just barely. Like, it's one of those three teams that are going to make the play-in, right? Lakers, Rockets, Kings. Oh man, we could have 4 teams in D for the West, because our next team is the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama with none other than Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah. Now I think Victor is that good.
Yeah, I think so too.
I just
Okay, let's swap. Let's put Sacramento F, San Antonio D. Do you feel confident doing that?
oh no, but I'll agree.
You think San Antonio is going to be F tier?
I just don't think there's enough spaces for them not to.
Be an F?
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. I don't hate it.
Like, maybe put the Kings back in the D tier.
Okay.
Like, the image of Victor Wembanyama reaching from the key to the 3-point line to steal the ball from RJ Barrett during the Olympics is etched in my mind of how can a human being do that?
When Wembanyama was talking about players that don't put in the effort, and he lost a ton of respect for some NBA players who don't put in the work. He was talking about Sohan. There's no way he was not talking about Sohan.
Yeah, this guy couldn't even see the tall guy who's wide open.
Yeah. Work on your passing in the off season, please, Sohan. Okay, the last Western Conference team is the Utah Jazz. My voice, I just grew a hair on my chest. A Lauri Markkanen run offense for the Utah Jazz, and the Filipino legend in Jordan Clarkson.
I really appreciate that he is. I know he's half Filipino, and I forget if his parent is from a first generation American. But Jordan Clarkson, I love watching play. He's really entertaining, but that team has no perimeter defense. And yeah, I think they're F.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just because
Yeah, no, you don't have to say anything more. They quite literally, if Lauri Markkanen's their best player, they are not going to be doing well. Now, with that said, they have the GOAT in the Kamloops GOAT in Kelly Olynyk. If you first time listening to this podcast, I played against Kelly Olynyk. I just want to say that out loud. No, I'm just kidding.
But locked him up.
No, they're an F tier. And then the last two teams here, we don't have
Can
to
we
spend
skip the Raptors?
Because the Raptors, they need to be F tier this season. The Toronto Raptors need to be F tier. And the unfortunate part is we have a solid player in Scotty Barnes, who will probably be an all-star. Emmanuel Quickley, who's a rising player in the NBA, who's going to heave every single shot and might actually make a bunch of shots. The unfortunate part is we need to rebuild, Masai said.
No way Yak is there past the trade deadline. I have the NBA.com power rankings, and they have the Hornets way worse than the Raptors. But the the Raptors don't have depth.
No, and just like you go beyond Scotty, you go beyond Emmanuel quickly, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, and Jakob. You don't have a lot. Bruce Bowen maybe, or no, Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown is another guy that's going to be off of the team.
Yeah.
I just don't know. For team building sakes, in long-term planning, I hope they're bad, but the East is so bad that they might be the 10th seed and be a terrible team.
That's just absurd. That's very heartbreaking. Yeah, so we're putting them in D. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that evens everything out because Washington, the over under on air balls for the season for the Washington Wizards, I think, is at 100. Yeah, you got Kuzma and Jordan Poole, who are probably the most hilarious basketball players to watch on an NBA court. They will probably be, I want to say, like, in contention for the number one pick, but there are some pretty bad teams in the East as well. Detroit's up there.
Who has the worst roster in the NBA? Brooklyn or Washington?
I think it's Brooklyn. I look at Brooklyn's, like with Jordan Poole and Kuzma, they will at least catch fire on some days. Brooklyn, they have Cam Thomas, and Ben Simmons is going to be aching his back come 10 games into the season. So,
and the Wizards have Jonas Valanciunas.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jonas Valanciunas. That's right. Oh man, they were showing the Wizards TikTok was showing players Toronto skyline, and had the players comment one word as they went by, and Jonas walked by and he said, "Used to be my home." And I was like, "Oh, bring that man back. Get him back in a Raptors jersey."
My favorite shirt I have ever seen that the Raptors have ever made was there was a shirt that paid homage to the band Weezer. Picture of Jonas Valanciunas, and it said, "My name is Jonas" on top. It was a perfect shirt.
Perfect shirt. Okay, I feel confident. I'm happy with this ranking, and we almost did it pretty evenly here. In our F tier, the teams that are poop for coop, we have the San Antonio Spurs, Utah Jazz, LA Clippers, Portland Trailblazers as the Western Conference teams that are definitely rebuilding. And then we have the Brooklyn Nets, Chicago Bulls, Detroit Pistons, and then the Washington Wizards. And then we have the D tier, those teams that are on the cusp of a play-in game or not. Sacramento Kings, Houston Rockets, LA Lakers in the West. And then we have the Atlanta, Charlotte, and I hope the Toronto Raptors are in the F, but they might be in the D for a play-in. We shall see. And then the for sure playoff teams. In the West, we have Golden State and Memphis, New Orleans and Phoenix in the West. And then in the East, we have Miami, Orlando, and then Indiana and Cleveland. And then our top two tiers for our A tier, we have the Dallas Mavericks, the Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, and then the Philadelphia 76ers. So they'll be one of the top four seeds in their respective conference. And then our championship contenders in the S tier, we have the OKC Thunder, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Boston Celtics, and the New York Knicks. I like it. I think we did a good job today.
It's tough leaving healthy. The 76ers might be an S tier team, but Embiid has to play.
Yep. And in that sense, it's the same argument for Denver. Jamal Murray needs to have a good season. He needs to play. Yeah, so Philly and Denver are kind of, in a very similar boat. And then the Milwaukee Bucks and the Dallas Mavericks aren't so dissimilar either. You have a Damian Lillard who had a transition year last year with the Bucks, but you also had a Kyrie Irving who also had a transition year. But I mean, obviously Kyrie flourished going to the NBA Finals, but there's a few similarities between those teams for sure.
I do appreciate Kyrie understanding that the talent Luka has, and how Luka also appreciates Kyrie being Kyrie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they worked off each other pretty nice, and hopefully Clay has a good year. We'll see. Okay, cool. Going back to the Lakers game, I don't think we're going to be staying on for the entire Lakers game. It's getting pretty late. I know, Naylor, you have to get up in the morning and do your thing for the community of Muscatine. So we're gonna end it here. We're gonna end the pod here. Naylor, I just really appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the pod and filling in for the always ever busy Name Cardinal.
Big shoes to fill, but I'm glad I was able to attempt to.
And thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. Really appreciate it. I think this was awesome. I think we got to do this a little bit more. And don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us. And remember to 5 stars only on any podcasts you follow us on. Hi, Ishnish, Magwech, Masi Cho. We're out of here.